Hey guys, Steve here. Today we got to look at the Zara. This is a stock Zara, so this is an early example of the ship in my grind. But we got Mimbelli on the screen here. I want to talk about commanders, at least in the early part of the game, then we'll do a deeper dive on this game. Been playing about half the games in this ship with Luigi, who I've been using up and down the line. Those of you that have been following along with the grind probably have seen that build. Here though, I was looking at, like I said, this is a stock game, so when I was looking at the stats, I'm seeing 11-second rudder shift. Now, that's a major problem, especially at Tier 6, because you're seeing a lot of Tier 7s battleships that can blow you up very quickly if you're making mistakes. So, to get that rudder shift down, I started playing Mimbelli, and I was actually enjoying it quite a bit. AP on the Zara, very strong. In fact, the strengths of the ship are concealment, AP, and that's probably it. I mean, you could make a case for the smoke, I guess, but in terms of the ship stats, the AP, the concealment, those are the big draws of the ship. Drawbacks, definitely armor. Now, the armor on the Zara is much better than Trento or lower. I've actually been able to angle a little bit. It seems against some battleships, certainly against all cruisers. So you can actually protect yourself in the ship, which is a nice change of pace compared to the Tier 5 and Tier 4, which were kind of made out of paper. But that's a drawback. The armor isn't great, and the turret traverse still pretty slow. You'll note I do have Einstein on there. That's to mitigate a weakness, slow turret traverse. If you put Einstein on there, I got him a fairly high level. Then we're not outspinning our turrets when we're turning hard. So that's a plus. Anytime you're out turning your turrets as a cruiser, detrimental. And then Yamamoto, we're enhancing the AP. Because Mimbelli, there's no built-in offensive perks. This is purely a mobility build. You got double speed, you got double rudder shift, and you got Ingenious, which tells you, number one, if you're targeted, which is what most people focus on, but more important is the turret traverse, which is huge. So if you don't have Einstein in your cadre of commanders, at this Tier 6, I mean, I'm not done grinding the ship, so I'll probably have a better impression as it goes on. We'll probably do a follow-up video to the ship later on. But I would probably start to think maybe Mimbelli's the way to go, at least for Tier 6 and Tier 7. Because the AP, especially if you slap Yamamoto on there, I mean, it's extremely effective. Earlier tonight, I double citadeled the Roma on this thing. I'm pretty sure it was Mimbelli before I put Yamamoto on the build. And once that happened, I was like, okay, well, the AP's no joke on this thing. So after that happened, I put Yamamoto on there, really to make sure that we're going to get the best performance out of that shell as possible. Still experimenting with it. I don't know how many battleships we can reliably Citadel at the waterline like the Roma earlier, but once you know it's a possibility, it's something to experiment with here. Jumping into this game, you see we're deployed over here on the west. Capture the base mode, so there's no cap, obviously. We do have the Aoba that's moving forward. Now, he was doing a fairly good job spotting for us earlier, but it's a kind of a low level, or a basic level cruiser concept that you don't want to be pushing into battleships as cruisers in general. Yes, there are exceptions to everything, but in general, not a great idea, especially not a great idea for a Japanese cruiser like the Aoba. I don't think the firing angles are purely backwards on that ship like they are on the Myoko and the Tier 7s, which I play a lot more than that one, but it's still designed to not be played that way. So I'm trying to get him to back up. Combined with him, we're kind of burning this Colorado down, pushing him back. That's protecting the Aoba, because if the Colorado gets a decent shot at him, and he's got AP loaded, which is, if you've seen what's going on with the American battleships lately, probably less likely than not that he's actually got the correct shell in there. But if he has AP loaded and he blasts the Aoba, he could kill him with one shot, no doubt. So trying to do what I can to keep him alive. The Zara, slow reload. By the way, for anyone wondering how good the reload perk is on this Mimbelli character, his base trait, not worth specking for in my opinion. Now I got a level 11 Mimbelli right now. He's probably legendary 1. I mean, you saw the build at the beginning of the video. It's either legendary 1 or 2 at the most. But going from my Luigi build, which has no reload boost, 14.5 seconds on that reload. This one's dropped down to 14 even. So I'm thinking if you have basically a maxed min belly, it's roughly a second reduction, which is not that great in my opinion. I mean, it's not bad. Like if I got min belly in the commander's seat like I do currently, we'll take it, but I wouldn't necessarily spec for it on any other ships. There's better options. Anyway, Monahan over here, he's the sole destroyer on their team. He's pushing into us. Apparently he's bored with this game. He's going to go ahead and kill himself. I mean, straight up 1v1 Monahan versus Aoba. He could potentially rush him. You can see there he's trying to suicide torp him and then gun him down. Not the strongest play. Just like the Aoba pushing into a Colorado, not necessarily the strongest play. Him 1v1ing that Aoba, not necessarily the strongest. The fact that he's got me here as well, which he should have been able to see quite easily on the map, and he should have remembered because we were both spotted not that long ago. Just straight up suicidal. Now we only saw one salvo go from Monahan to that other, the Aoba. Whether his tube was knocked out or not, we don't know, but you saw we angled towards him, and there was the follow-up salvo. So he actually did have one more salvo saved. Maybe he was trying to torp him and me in the same play, and if he pulled it off, it would have been highlight reel caliber material. No doubt about that. But the odds of him pulling that off, I mean, not when you're running up against me and the Zara. Let's just put it that way. Not going to happen. Anyway, now we've cleared our side. Surprisingly, we only had 2 cruisers come over here. That was enough to clear the side. You can see red heavily committed to the east. Blue committed over there, and they're kind of milling about in the center. I've been picking on the base now, trying to get my ships to do that. And we do have a couple cruisers that look like they're committed to do that. I'm not telling them to get on the base with the eye to capture the base. We don't get on the base in capture the base mode to actually capture the base. We get on it to stop the enemy from accruing points and to force them to turn around. We're announcing to the red team once we get on their base, you got 3 minutes to come around here and reset us or you lose. A lot of times the players who has an enemy ship on their base, they don't care or they don't know that they can actually lose the game by doing, by having the enemy capture the base. They don't care. They won't actually do anything. In which case, go ahead, sit back, relax, take your W. But if, as these guys do, they respond, they come back to base, well, now we're setting up a trap, okay? Draw a straight line from that cruiser and the guy following him. There's 2 cruisers basically right next to each other, those New Orleans. Straight line from them to the pin, the center of the red base. Okay, now I'm setting up to the north of that with the intent to crossfire these guys, get them in an ambush, and we're going to set it up here. And this is a design play by me. This is why I was saying get on the base. We want them to turn around. And then if it was the battleships coming over here, we'd burn them down. If it's the cruisers, we flip right over to the AP. And we understand that anytime ships are in a pursuit pattern, they're chasing someone, or they've got places to go, people to see, like they got to get back here and reset the base, they're going to go in a straight line to do that. So we knew that. We set up here, and now we're going to pepper them, tickle them in the sides, and put them on the bottom of the sea. You'll see here the power of those AP shells. Now, I think I'm still testing out. This is the first ship of this line that I actually have any interest in. 5-10 games playing it, I'm like, this one's actually pretty good. The rest of the ships so far, tiers 3 through 5, I really didn't like at all. But these ones, now that I'm playing around with these ships and actually thinking about them, I'm starting to see a lot of overpens and then like brutal Citadel shots. And that reminds me of the Italian battleships as well. I think these shells have like extreme velocity, in their properties or whatever. And that's going to result in some overpens, especially close range like this. But you can see when we're actually hitting the Citadel, and yes, you can overpen the Citadel, by the way. People ask me that all the time. But when we're hitting the Citadel, as we're doing repeatedly here, you can see we're actually shredding these guys to bits. So you don't want to take these Italian cruisers lightly, especially not the Zara. I haven't really played against the Amalfi. I certainly don't have it yet, so I'm not going to comment on that one yet. But this Zara, I would respect this AP. If you're going to show it broadside, you're in trouble. This New Orleans and the other one are actually pushing into crossfires. We talked about this a lot, trying to not do that as a player. We don't want to push into that. But basically, if the more you go forward, the more access to your broadside the enemy has. You're pushing into a crossfire. You don't want to do that. So in other words, that guy and his compadre, the further they went from left to right on my screen, the more and more flatly broadside they were from my perspective. So they needed to stop moving forward a long time ago, but they, as I began shooting them, they should have really started to say, okay, we need to put our, we need to hit the brakes and reevaluate the situation. They kept going forward. We killed them. Anyway, what's going on now? Gneisenau, Queen Elizabeth, pushing into the base. Do we need to be on the base at this point in time in the game? The answer is no. We got a ship lead, which we need to preserve. That's basically how Red can possibly win this, is by killing us. So we don't want to be taking a lot of shots from these guys. But score-wise, they're not going to come back. You can see they're all committed to playing down. I mean, they do have the one battleship that could potentially get on our base, who I am keeping an eye on, by the way. But he's being countered by other guys on our team. You can see to the north there. He's not the threat. Gneisenau pushing into the base, though. We got the Aoba. We got an Icarus, our sole destroyer. And they're employing the mentality that we've been talking about a lot lately, because we've been seeing it a lot lately. Once I'm on the base, I can't get off the base. I'm stuck there. It's like you're trapped in a force field in some 90s cartoon, and it's just you're stuck there until someone comes and gets you out. They have to turn the force field off, then you can get out of there. That's not how this game works. You can actually leave the base at any point in time when you're on it. And again, once you understand that we rarely want to actually try and capture the base in capture the base mode, then you should be all the more willing to get off there. So I'm trying to hold these guys off. It's not like we're in a Cleveland, though, or some American light cruiser where we can just bomb golden showers on these guys, preventing them from pushing forward. We got a 15-second reload, a 14-second reload. So I'm trying to make sure we're not taking shots from that guy. Now you can see I'm mainly focusing on not allowing him to blow me up. But if we can get some torps down, if we can get some damage, hopefully get a fire, hopefully get a flood, maybe we can keep these guys alive. But in my mind, when I'm playing this game and I'm evaluating what do I have to do to win, and I got an eye on bailing out of here at any moment, keep that in mind. When I'm doing that, though, I'm assuming the guys in the cap are going to die. If they happen to hit the Gneisenau with torpedoes, which is their only chance of surviving, good. That's lucky. But they're probably going to die. You got to understand when you're playing against German battleships, and this is why I always recommend playing as many lines as possible so you get to understand the mentality that those players have. When German battleship players load into a game, what they say is, God, I hope I get into some close range brawling action this game. Because if that doesn't happen, not only does the ship suck at every single thing else in the game, but they're going to be completely ineffective. I mean, some of those players, they'll be sitting broadside back line doing absolutely nothing. They'll probably get 10,000 damage after 15 minutes of sniping some guy. That's not the mentality that we're trying to get into. But like good German battleship players are thinking, I got to get up in their grill and I want to get up there and tussle a close range. So, an Aoba parked on the cap thinking, I'm going to hold off and advancing Gneisenau. Not going to work. Same thing with the Icarus. You miss those torps, and it's a mobile battleship, so there's a decent chance you're going to miss some of those torps. You miss those torps, you're dead, okay? The secondaries are going to kill you. The guns reload very quick. Turret traverse, if they got it set up properly, the turret traverse is adequate to deal with you. So, anyway, we just assumed they were going to die all along. Of course, they did die all along. But now, we're kind of just whittling people down. We've been burning this Bayern down. He was the main ship that had any possibility of getting on our base, which at this point in time doesn't really matter if they do. But luckily there, I think someone either burned down or flooded out that Gneisenau, I think. So, I mean, took them 2 ships, but yes, they did stop them finally. And then there's the coup de grace on the Bayern. Now, you're going to note here, at this point in time in the game, this is a pretty damn good game in terms of damage. We're probably over 4 times our ship's HP and damage, which for a cruiser is a pretty decent score, especially a stock Cruiser, a tier 6, with the non-offensive commander, I guess. It's a pretty decent damage output game. So you're probably thinking to yourself, all right, charge this guy, go in there, try and get some more damage. Maybe we can get a $150 damage, or, put up some decent numbers. Which I'm inclined to agree with you, except for this game, you never really know, right? And the only way Red can win this game is if we push them. So we're just going to turn around, we're going to make sure that, if the guy on my team spots him, because he's, of course, charging in, trying to find him. If he spots him, maybe I'll get 1 or 2 more salvos off. If not, we're going to make sure we survive, which is what we do. So, pretty good look at the Zara there, but I did want to highlight Mimbelli, because I get a lot of questions on the commanders with this line. Again, thus far I've been a proponent of Luigi, but this game kind of put a little wrinkle of doubt in my mind. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy that. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Questions, comments, leave below. Peace.